Happy Wednesday. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Looks like we got a big crowd today for this election webinar. Apologize for the hiccup on the registration process. That's why we had to send out a link late this morning. And I know most of us have election fatigue, but we thought what we would do today, in addition to recording this, and you can share it with colleagues, what have you, is while the national media is focused on the presidential election, certainly a lot of things happen in Florida that affect counties. And so what Ginger and I thought we would do today was just hit some of the highlights of county commission races, some of the larger statistics that are out there just on the voting, the constitutional amendments, some of the local ballot initiatives. There's a lot of those out there. And then some of the statewide House and Senate races. So if you got questions, as always, put them in the Q&A or the chat, and we'll do our best to answer. We're kind of political novices, but we'll do our best to try to answer any questions you have. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our Executive Director, Ginger Delegate. And Ginger, it's yours for now.
Well, thank you, Eric. Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Wednesday. Happy day after the elections. We here at the association are very proud of all of our local leaders and servants, and the fact that Florida is not in the middle of the national election drama that is going on today. At least from up here inside the Leon County bubble, things around the state seem to go very smoothly in the last couple of weeks with respect to early voting, and then certainly yesterday on Election Day itself. Since this is one of the installments of Webinar Wednesday, Eric and I thought that we would kick things off with just some very high-level facts and responsibilities of county government in the state of Florida when it comes to elections. The elections at the local level and on behalf of the state of Florida are run by the locally elected supervisor of elections in conjunction with other components of county government, not the least of which is you all, the Board of County Commissioners, for funding those services and functions and duties of the supervisor of elections. County government in Florida is responsible for registering all voters, for maintaining the voter registration files, for conducting federal, state, and local elections, for administering the provisions of the campaign reporting laws, including campaign finance, upholding all of the election laws of the state of Florida, and then providing public education and information when it comes to campaigns and how to register to vote and all things with respect to Elections Day. The supervisor of elections at the local level is the official custodian of the registration books and has the exclusive control of matters that relate to the registration of voters, conducting the local elections, the dissemination of election results, and the maintenance of those election results. The supervisor of elections at the county level must receive and preserve information such as campaign treasurer reports that are relevant to local candidates, political committees, and political parties. And the supervisor's offices, of course, are funded primarily by county taxpayers by a budget approval and allocation and appropriation process at the county commission level. And with those couple of pieces of information related to how elections are conducted from the county government perspective, Eric, I'm going to kick it back to you for some of the statistics coming out of yesterday's Election Day.
Good, thank you. And I'll just mention, if we did a webinar several weeks ago with three supervisors of elections, and it was very informative. I had a lot of questions about hacking, security, all that stuff. So if you're interested, we've got that archived on our website. Take a look at that. All right, big picture on the statistics. We have, and this is from Jeff Scala and Becky Berenston from our office. Thank you for putting this together. But nationally, over 160 million votes were cast nationwide. That's 66.9% turnout, which is outstanding. From the Florida perspective, we had, as of 10 o'clock this morning, reporting out of the Department of State, 11,118,926, votes, which represents 76.9% of the total registered voters. Looking at some of how this breaks down, you compare that number with 2016 total vote, including on election day in 2016 was 9,594,000. So clearly this year, a big uptick in getting out the vote. With respect to how people voted, vote by mail this year, the Division of Elections reports that 4,737,000, and that's the note here said that was expected to increase. Compare that to 2016 at 2.7 million. So that is a huge difference in terms of people voting by mail. Early voters this year, 4.3 million, and compare that to 2016 of 3.8 million. And then on election day voters, this kind of surprised me though, was in 2016, we had 2.9 million on election day votes, and this year we had 1.9 million. So clearly the early voting, the vote by mail is really becoming a preferred method. Certainly COVID-19 probably played a role in that. And just on a personal level, this is the first year I voted by mail. And so you're seeing a lot more people use that procedure. Just a couple other interesting statistics. Counties with the highest turnout of all votes. And this doesn't surprise us, kind of an older population, retirement communities. Collier County, 90.2%. Sumter County, 87.9%. St. John's, 84.5%. And then Martin County, 83.3%. And I was looking yesterday at some of the early voting, and they were coming from those counties as well. People that were voting on election day, early kind of retirement communities, think of the Villages, Collier County. And then counties with the highest percent of early vote by mail turnout, Sumter 80.4%, Collier 79%, St. John's 72%. Those are just kind of the high level numbers that we were tracking last night. And Ginger, I'll turn it over to you for that.
Thank you, Eric. So one of the other things that we thought would be informative this afternoon is to actually talk about the questions that were on the various county ballots around the state of Florida. So all of those referenda questions from all 67 counties. And we're going to bring this to you by way of subject matter. So one of the key takeaways actually for me in looking over this data and monitoring returns last night is that almost every one of the measures passed. There were a few, and whenever we get done today, if you would like to know what those are, we'll be happy to share those with you. But almost all of them passed on a statewide basis in terms of those referenda questions on county ballots. So the first big category of referendum questions that were on county ballots around the state yesterday related to local option sales taxes, and either the extension of current local option sales taxes that were in place or changing the uses of some of those local options at the county level. We had 7 counties yesterday that approved either these extensions or the different uses of the sales tax dollars, and everybody from as small a county as Union County that approved the use of local option sales taxes for fire and rescue purposes, which is one of the more recent abilities to be able to use those local dollars, the use there for fire and rescue, all the way up to as large as Brevard had them on the ballot and approved either an extension or a change in the use of one that was already in place. We had one expansion of a tourist development tax, and that did come out of Walton County. Certainly, Walton has seen a tremendous amount of growth in its tourism industry in the last 20 to 30 years, and it doesn't appear as if that is slowing down anytime soon for them over in the Panhandle. So tourist tax development expansion over in Walton last night. We had some charter counties that had proposed charter amendments on the ballot that dealt with the county relationship to its municipalities. And so back in the bubble, prior to the recession of growth here in the state of Florida, we saw a lot of conflict at the intergovernmental level locally between counties and municipalities when it came to growth management, particularly in the charter counties around the state. And so yesterday, there were actually at least 3 measures that look like they are going to pass that speak to the relationship between county ordinances and municipal ordinances when they conflict with each other. So we saw one in the growth management area, one when it comes to protecting natural resources inside the county, and then one with respect to county provided and owned transportation facilities, and when those facilities run in and through municipal boundaries, which of those ordinances is going to prevail in that particular circumstance. So at least 3 dealing with the intergovernmental relationship in charter counties between cities and counties. Saw 9 counties last night actually approve a property tax exemption for economic development. And again, this was small, medium, and large counties in this class of 9 that approved that property tax exemption at the local level. One is small as Holmes County, and one is large as Sarasota and Indian River as well. There were 2 counties, Miami-Dade and Broward, that had ballot issues that had to do with the county commission's relationship to its constitutional officers. The one in Broward was approved, and it was actually approving a special act that came out of the 2020 regular legislative session that articulated its duties and functions with respect primarily to the clerk and how those clerk duties at the local level in Broward may look going forward. This particular special act was actually passed in reaction to the ballot issue in 2018. It was Amendment 10 that curtailed the ability of charter counties to curtail the duties and functions of constitutional officers. And so that one in Broward did pass, again, approving a special act that also passed the legislature. And then Miami-Dade actually had one that did look like it's not going to be approved by the voters in Miami-Dade County. It's headed towards failure at the moment. And it had to do with altering the partisan nature of the offices and the elections of the constitutional officers and trying to switch those to nonpartisan elections. Again, the predictions are at the moment that that one will end up failing in Miami-Dade County. Actually several ballot issues in Columbia County, some of which look like they're going to pass and some of which look like they are not going to pass the electorate, has to do with the Board of County Commissioners' relationship to the county manager in that particular charter county, as well as the relationship between the county commission and other county staff. There were 2 counties last night that approved children's services councils, and this is a special ad valorem tax that is set aside just to fund children-directed programs. One of those was in Escambia County and one in Leon County. Both look like they are going to be approved by the voters there. And then finally, just sort of in the other column, one interesting one that was approved in Orange County last night is a charter amendment to its charter there in Orange to protect the natural water rights of a category that is being defined as the waters of the county. And so some protections for those water rights being approved in Orange County. So that's a little bit of a high-level preview of individual county referenda questions that were on the ballot around the state, most of them being approved last night. Turning to the statewide ballot, though, there were 6 proposed constitutional amendments on yesterday's ballot. So Amendment 1, which is titled as the citizen requirement to vote in Florida elections, looks like it is going to pass. And let me also just remind everyone that in Florida now, in order for a constitutional amendment to be approved on the ballot, it needs a 60% approval rating of those votes that are cast. So Amendment 1, the citizenship requirement to vote, does look like it's going to pass. Amendment 2, which was gradually raising Florida's minimum wage from its current rate at around $8.56 over the course of time to 2026 to $15 an hour, looks like it is also going to pass. Although as some of the mail-in ballots are still being counted, the percentage there looks like it is dropping today, but as of about an hour ago, it was at a 60.8% of approval on Amendment 2, the minimum wage proposal. Amendment 3 looks like it is going to fail. This was the amendment that would have authorized the use of open, or what some call jungle primaries. These are where any registered voter can vote for any candidate at the primary election stage, and the top 2 vote getters, even if they happen to be from the same party, move forward into the general election. But it does look like that one is not going to meet the 60% threshold for approval. Amendment 4 also looks like it is going to fail on the statewide ballot. This was the amendment that would have required the approval of a proposed constitutional amendment in the future to be approved not only by 60% of the vote, but to be approved in 2 consecutive general elections. So the fastest that any ballot measure could actually become law and make its way into the Florida Constitution, it would actually take 4 years and 2 election cycles, but it looks like that one is going to fail. Amendment 5 looks like it's going to pass. This is titled as limitation on homestead assessments. And in essence, what Amendment 5 proposes to do is expand the time limit for being able to port, or the portability of your Save Our Homes assessment value, the savings in that category, to be able to take it to a new homestead property upon the sale and purchase of a new homestead, expands from 2 years to be able to port that Save Our Homes savings to 3 years. And it looks like that one is going to pass. The proposed fiscal impact for all local governments in Florida on that measure is a little over $10 million a year. Amendment 6 also looks like it's going to pass without too much difficulty. This one expands the ad valorem tax discount for spouses of certain deceased veterans who had permanent combat-related disabilities. And this one actually extends that ad valorem tax discount to a surviving spouse of that veteran upon the death of the veteran. The fiscal impact on this one for all local governments in Florida is only estimated to be somewhere around $4 million a year. And so that is the roundup of the 6 proposed constitutional amendments from last night. And with that, Eric, I'm going to kick it back to you to start to talk about some county commission races.
Yeah, and before I do that, we did have some questions in the chat, but they're silly questions, so we're not gonna read those. But I do, and I don't want to put you on the spot, Ginger. You mentioned on a local ballot initiative, I think a small charter county, and there was a proposal to do something between the board and the county manager.
Yeah, it's Columbia County.
Do you have any? What are the details on that?
Well, they had actually several different measures, so they were different questions. Some of them passed, and I don't have those stats in front of me. Some of them failed. One of them, for example, had to do with a due process hearing in front of the Board of County Commissioners upon the termination of certain high-ranking county staff members. And then others of those measures actually had to do, again, with the termination procedures of the county manager. So I believe they had 4 or 5 that related to that relationship between the county commission and the county manager and the county commission and certain key county staff.
Okay, I do have a real question.
Yeah.
What county passed the fire rescue sales tax?
There were actually 2. One was Union and one, I believe, was Liberty. So they were 2 on that new fire rescue surtax. Well, not new to me. I'm old. It's been a couple years.
Okay, good. Thank you. And next, we're going to talk about just, again, some stats and some numbers as it relates to the county commission races, and then just some anecdotes that are kind of interesting on who they are. But again, thanks to Becky and Jeff, just looking at the total number of candidates this year, including the primary and general election, who are running for county commission, were 537 candidates. But on the general election, it was 216. So a lot of folks interested in running for local office this year. Now, with respect to how many new commissioners we have, if you recall, in 2018, we had about 50 plus or minus. This year, we have 92 new commissioners. Now, of those, 43 actually won on the primary back in September. So 49 were won last night. Also, 50 of commissioner incumbents won last night, and that's a percentage of about 80%. And then, not everybody wins. And we had 12 incumbents actually lost their commission seats last night. And of those that actually within that total, we had 14 former state legislators that were also reelected last evening. So very excited that we're going to have such a big group of new commissioners coming in. So county commissioners that might be on this webinar, it'd be great for you to reach out to any of those who you might know and let them know about our organization. And to give you a sense for who they are, they're definitely a cross section of our communities. And Ginger, you want to just talk about some of the bios that we were able to identify earlier this week on who got elected?
Yes, some of the really fun stuff in welcoming new county commissioners into the association is obviously learning a little bit about them. And so at least for a good chunk of the new ones coming in, we do have some information with respect to their background. And we've got a diverse class coming in. We have an electrician. We have several members of the retired military representing at the moment, as best we can identify, and this may change, but the branches of the Air Force, Navy, and Marines so far in this current class of new county commissioners. We have current first responders, both in law enforcement as well as fire and EMS. And then we have some new county commissioners that are retired first responders as well. Again, both in law enforcement and fire and EMS represented there. We have a new county commissioner who is a chiropractor, and so that will be exciting to get to meet her. We have former city elected officials that join us this year as newly elected county commissioners also. We have a funeral director in the new county commissioner class. We have a whole variety of small business owners, including one that owns a septic tank company up in the northeastern portion of the state. And so we look forward to being able to get to know that individual really well with all of the issues that we have in Florida with the septic to sewer conversions and water quality around the state. We have several lawyers in the bunch, as you could probably guess, in this new class of county commissioners. Also, we always seem to have insurance agents and insurance brokers, particularly independent ones. Certainly stands to reason. Those folks are out and about in their community and know a lot of individuals and are usually heavily involved also at the local community level. We have a couple of county commissioners in this new class that come from manufacturing. Again, which is something that we don't see a whole lot of here in Florida, unlike many of the other states in the southeastern portion of the country. We have several educators, some who are retired and some who are currently a part of our education system here in the state of Florida, that are newly elected county commissioners. We have realtors and bankers, and we did actually add this year a former member of the House of Representatives here in the state of Florida, to this class of newly elected commissioners. So that just gives you a little bit of a preview of who some of these new folks are, and we certainly look forward to getting to meet many of them, hopefully in person, during our new county commissioner orientation as a part of legislative conference the week after Thanksgiving over in Jacksonville, Duval. And if not in person, we hope that they will certainly join us by way of the virtual participation that they can do as a part of the hybrid event for legislative conference. So that sort of wraps up the overview of the county commission races around the state. And then we wanted to talk a little bit about the state house, the House of Representatives, as well as the Florida Senate, and how things there shook out last night. So Eric, I know you've got some preview info for us there too.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like unless you're, following your local House or Senate member in a local race, a lot of this other stuff statewide gets dwarfed and kind of lost. But there were a lot of competitive races statewide in both for the Florida Senate and the Florida House, and certainly in the Senate, there's one that's really down to the wire and likely to force a recount. But let's just take the Florida Senate. This year, odd districts were up for re-election, and so plus one even district. So we had a total of 21 seats that were up, and of those, we have 10 new members in the Florida Senate. Right now, notwithstanding the recount down in Senate District 37, you have 23 Republicans and 17 Democrats. That's the composition of that chamber. If the challenge in the recount in Senate District 37, obviously that would flip it from 23 Republicans to 24 and 16 Democrats, and that is that's how the Senate is looking today. Now in the Florida House, I think we had about 96 seats that were up for election, and that's obviously a 120 member body. There are 38 new House members. The Republicans gained 5 seats. So now you have a split of 78 Republicans and 42 Democrats in that chamber. And just a couple of interesting figures and facts is that you had 12 members that were unopposed in the primary and general, and 11 primary winners with no opposition in the general election. And lastly, just a couple of things we wanted to mention is a couple of our former county commissioners who are serving in the House, unfortunately, were reelected, and that's Representative Chuck Clemens, Representative Chip LaMarca out of Broward, Clemens out of Alachua, I apologize, Senator Linda Stewart, former Orange County Commissioner, Fred Hawkins out of Osceola, won a House seat, and a former past president of FAC, Rodney Long, was running for a House seat, but he lost that in the primary. So that's kind of a wrap up of the county commission races and some of the statewide initiatives. We did not mean this to go into a very deep dive. We just wanted to provide some highlights of some of the local elections and some of the statewide initiatives. Ginger, there does not appear to be any questions in either the chat or in the Q&A.
Yeah, I'll just to tag on Eric's list of former county commissioners that won in terms of their House races, is that it's really actually exciting to tell you all that all of our former county commissioners that held seats either in the House or the Senate, they all won re-election. And then, as Eric has mentioned, we have added one in former Commissioner Fred Hawkins out of Osceola County, but Thad Altman out of Brevard County, he regained his seat in the House. Melanie Bell from Polk County regained her seat also in the House. Stan McLean from Marion, we look forward to welcoming him back up here in Tallahassee. Cindy Stevenson out of St. John's, and J.R. Williams out of Santa Rosa. So very proud of that class of former county commissioners, and then the addition of Fred Hawkins from Osceola. So that was great news to see that former county commissioners held on to their seats in the House and the Senate last night.
All right. Folks, thank you for joining us today. That wraps everything up. Again, we'll have this archived if you want to share it with anybody. And then we look forward to next week's webinar. So again, we'll see you next Wednesday at 2 o'clock. Thank you for joining.